Hi, my name is Eric and I run a software company in the UK called Overpass, and I also create a daily technology video on YouTube which is followed by app developers all over the world. And I frequently meet with CTOs and business owners and we talk about software architecture. We talk about whether or not an app or a bit of voice controlled apparatus or some other technology can help improve their business, and I frequently hear the same thing. Eric, we have systems already, but they're really old and we don't think that you can integrate with them. Maybe it was done by a developer ages ago who's left and they can no longer get in touch with them, or maybe it's on some old infrastructure, or maybe it's an enterprise system, or maybe it's something proprietary and we just don't think that we can integrate with that kind of software, right? And most of the time we sit down and we find out that that's not the case. There's always something that we can do to help improve the businesses and help improve processes, either internally for their employees or externally for their customers or their clients. So if you'll allow me the next couple of minutes, I want to talk about some ways you can sit down with your existing technologies team or with us and talk about how we can improve the architecture of your enterprise systems so that you can do far more and save a lot more money in the long term. So have a quick look at my screen right here. A lot of times we talk with software owners and they have a bit of software already. Maybe it's an old desktop application, maybe it's a website that was done in 2004, maybe it's a website that was done recently by a team that you just lost confidence in and you think, we need to rewrite this thing one day. Or maybe it's something else. Maybe it's a mobile application. Maybe it's enterprise. Maybe it's something done in Salesforce or SharePoint or some other CRM. Most of the time, that doesn't make much of a difference. You could still go into it because if you have a look, almost always a database in the back end. So there's something which is saving data in a central location and we just have to tap into it. Now, depending on how good the developers were that you worked with, most likely there's also an API, an application programming interface. Now sometimes, especially in older applications, this wasn't done. And if you have junior developers, a lot of times they bypass the API altogether. But what an API or an application programming interface does is it takes all the functionality out of the app and moves it into one central location so the app communicates with that, and you can have other things like REST services and web services that feed off of that. So if you have that already in place, and you may not even know it, enterprise systems always have it, you could go through and just create an Android app and an iPhone app, or maybe a progressive web app or another web application, and just feed right into that same API. So it could do the same login, it could do all the same functions, it could do everything, and you have another way of giving your employees or your customers a way to use your internal systems. It's fantastic. But that's thinking very small. Once that API is in place, and if it's documented really well, if it's not documented really well, just document it. Go through, see how it works, do some packet sniffers, see how it gets contacted. Once that's done in place, then you have other options. You can connect to services like Dialogflow or Alexa Skills Kit, and this will allow you to have your applications available through voice control on Google Home or through Siri or through Cortana or through an Amazon Echo, all over the place. And you can get ahead of the curve on that just by using Dialogflow or Alexa Skills Kit, which are both the systems that are use machine learning and artificial intelligence for both of those systems. It gets really exciting once you get your API and your architecture organized the right way. Not only that, let's say that old nasty website that you don't like anymore, you want to rewrite it. If the API is well documented, you could go through and create a second site and granularly migrate everybody off onto the new website and just silently phase out the other one. So while everyone is using that enterprise crucial system that you're already using, you could go through and start gradually moving everybody to the new one, because the core of the logic is not in the application itself, it's in the API. The API is like the heart that keeps the blood pumping all the way through. Now the question is, what if your developers were no good? What if the developers you used before didn't put in an API? So let's say it's just one big kludge of logic and a database and you don't have the API tier in there. Well, that's easy. All you have to do is see how it works, go through and reverse engineer it, which could be a little bit difficult, but once you look at the database structure, running a lot of tests, you can create your own separate API, which That way the application can still keep running the way that it does in an inefficient way, but that API gets created off on the side and you can start plugging other systems into it, and then at the same time you can get your whole ecosystem put in there. We have done this a lot actually at Overpass. We've gone through and reverse engineered systems and created APIs that will go through and feed off of everything else. And just using voice control, using mobile applications, using progressive web apps, that's thinking small because we don't know what's going to come up along in the future. You could do things like set up chatbots on your website, you can set up invoicing systems, you have things sending off push notifications. Here's some examples of the applications that we've done for some clients. We've done applications for big industrial equipment manufacturers, so we can connect the mobile phone to their large machinery and be able to get readings from it and send it to an API on a database system so they have a command platform to read from. We worked with a groundwater disposal company, so there's different groundwater at construction sites, and when it gets too high, they get push notifications to find out what's going on. We work for insurance companies, so all of their users can get a push notification to find out what their daily premiums are. We work with radiation cleanup companies, so they can walk around and start plotting where radiation is found on cleanup sites and have everything report back to a central system. And all of this is made possible because we sit down with them and we talk about this architecture. We talk about ways that once we put this in place, it might sound a little bit expensive at first, it might seem unnecessary at first, but in the long run, it saves them money, it saves them time, it saves them manpower, and it's really exciting to do. And it's kind of projects that we love to work on. At Overpass, we've done work on marketing applications, so something that for your customers. We've done games and things like that, which are kind of okay, but the kind of things we really love to work on are internal systems, stuff that makes productivity in an organization much faster. You have your staff walking around with a really powerful computer in their pocket, which could scan barcodes, it could take GPS coordinates, it could send data back and forth automatically, and these are exciting times we live in, and if you don't have your infrastructure set up in the way that it should be, you're not going to be able to take advantage of it. Using things like the Echo Dot and Google Home, that's our latest thing. That's fun. That's the future, and that's the kind of stuff we like to. But in order to do that, you have to sit down with your developers and look at your architecture and say, hey, do we have everything organized this way? Can we proceed in the future? If we wanted to add this in later, can we do it? Now, the diagrams I just showed you, I'm going to make available for free on our website. If you click on the button below, you can go through and download them. And if you're looking for any web development or you want to have a chat about your own architecture, we're happy to talk about that with you too. So click on the button below. I hope this has been helpful, and I hope if you got nothing else from this meeting, you will sit down with your software developers or your development team or your technology professionals and you'll talk about how can we improve our systems. And if you don't have anybody to talk to, or if you've lost confidence in them, or you lost faith in them, or they're no longer around, give us a call. We would love, Overpass would love to work with you on this stuff because we love architecturing systems and we love making everything flow effortlessly. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you, and I wish you guys the best in the future. Good luck with your business.